Hello and welcome to Devil's Advocate. The government's draft broadcast bill has caused consternation in the television industry. Here to talk about the bill and its controversial causes is the Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Priya Ranjan Dasmunsi. Minister, let's start with the powers the government intends to confer upon itself under the draft Broadcast Services Regulation Bill. Clause 9(6) gives the central government the authority to prescribe guidelines and norms to evaluate and certify broadcast content. Why do you believe the government is the right body to evaluate content?
Absolutely, government has the right. Throughout the world, it is the government that has the right. Not only in India in democracy, it is UK, it is the United States, it is Germany, it is Canada. Everywhere, government has a right, but government should not have the right to interfere into the system of functioning of their editorial.
Well, in fact, very much of your bill leads to interference, and I'll come to that in a moment's time. Let me first
I can give instance of instance.
In India, the government does not presume to evaluate newspaper content. It does not presume to evaluate books published by the publishing industry. Why are you presuming this right in the case of television?
No, I think you are absolutely wrong on your own understanding. If you go through the bill, the Cable Network Bill 1995 did provide, on the advice of you people who are running the TV channel, that cable network should have specific content regulation, and that content regulation, unless is prescribed for, the cable network can do whatever they like.
And therefore,
we have brought that thing into the bill, not to hit the television channel, but to preserve the cable network order in the same order.
But that's exactly what you're saying, that you've done it not to hit the television channels. In fact, the way it works out is effectively censorship. Let me finish and then you answer me. If you add to the right to prescribe guidelines, Clause 38, which says the central government may from time to time issue directions as it may deem necessary in the interest of decency or morality, and these instructions will be binding. This means that the two combined allow you, one, to set guidelines that determine that certain types of programs are indecent and immoral, and then to issue directions to ban them. That is censorship.
I think, Karan, you have totally forgotten to study the Program and Advertisement Code now available in India. If the Program and Advertisement Code is accepted by you, same is incorporated in the bill, nothing beyond that.
Except for the fact that the language of Clause 38 is very important. The central government may from time to time issue directions it may deem necessary in the interest of decency or morality. That goes well beyond any code. It gives you the power to decide what you want is immoral or indecent.
No, I think you are mistaken.
And then to ban it.
Program and Advertisement Code still give the power to government to issue notices to the channels, what is wrong and what is right. And I can tell you today, in front of you in television, my viewers will appreciate my comments. When the television channel brought to me a few days back that a regulation has been issued that they have to apologize for having surrogated ad exposition of cigarette and tobacco. Please don't do it. We'll be very sorry to do it. And I had to stop it. But regulation is a regulation. But the regulation should not be conducted by the government. We'll have a regulatory mechanism.
The Minister,
not by government.
Forgive me, you're talking of an instance when the government took a kindly view of a matter and decided not to impose penalties. That was your goodwill. The problem is, why should television channels have to rely on the goodwill of individual ministers? The law gives you power to effectively censor.
Very correct point you say.
Let me finish, and then you answer. You see, it's not just in terms of Clause 38 that you get the power to censor. Even Clause 5 says that the government can, from time to time, in respect of any broadcasting service which is considered prejudicial to friendly relations with a foreign country, suspend or revoke its license. Now that means that if an individual news channel chooses to expose American atrocities in Iraq, or reveal plans to invade Iran, or even details of the civil war going on in Baluchistan, you can deem that to be prejudicial to friendly relations and ban it. Once again, why are you giving yourself these sweeping powers?
No, I think it is wrongly being misinterpreted. First, I'd like to tell you, one of the largest democratic world's television channel is BBC. And in BBC and India, the difference is, we don't interfere, we advise, we persuade. This section is now being debated with the stakeholders, and the draft bill proposition is a draft. It is not a decision of the government.
And that's why I'm talking to you, because we want the draft amended before it becomes final.
I think first you should appreciate the government's intention. Government, after having studied various reports, various sessions, put everything to a draft, inviting the opinion of the stakeholders, inviting the opinion of the common public, and that process is on. So decisively you can conclude that this is a decision of the government.
All right, I agree it's not a decision, it's a draft. Therefore, you're suggesting that everything in this draft can be amended, it can be altered, it can be dropped, it can be changed.
Absolutely.
That's why I'm persisting. Because not only do you have two clauses, clause 38 and clause 5, which I've just read out to you, which lead you and give you powers virtually to censor. Let me finish. But in fact, what's even more worrying is how those powers will be enforced. Because clause 24 permits an officer as junior as a subdivisional magistrate, if he has reason to believe that section 5 is being contravened, to walk into any television channel and seize its equipment. Now this is why people worry, because junior officers are being given sweeping powers, turning on a matter of interpretation which can be used prejudicially, which can be used to the disadvantage of the channel.
I just give you an example.
But come to mind. Why are these
no,
powers being given to SDM?
Why it was in the draft? It may be amended, it may change, that's different. Why it was in the draft? A film was censored and screened in the country called Tango Charlie. And in that film, a language against a community was used so harshly that the entire northeastern state decided not to show the film on the law and order ground. It is in the hand of the state.
So that's the explanation.
No. Yeah, I just come. Please allow me to conclude. Therefore, government felt it proper on any sensitivity which can endanger the harmony and unity by using, because all channels are not responsible channel. I do presume. But all channels are not the channels who are responsible.
I accept the argument you're making, that there are irresponsible channels.
No, not the problem is irresponsible.
No, but Minister, the problem is not the irresponsibility of the channel. The problem is that you are giving junior officers like SDM sweeping powers to seize equipment.
The whole problem with you, Karan, that you have not studied the Cable Network Regulation Act of 1995.
I'm studying your bill.
There the power was given to the police, and the same power is with the police, not to the TV
but
channel.
Just because you made a mistake in the Cable Network Bill doesn't mean that you have to repeat the mistake in the broadcast bill.
We have not made a mistake.
Is that people
the Cable Network Bill was supported by you people, strongly.
It may have been supported by individuals, but the point is...
The problem is, when you are hit, you feel the shoe is pinching me.
No, Minister.
When the Cable Network is hit, you feel that should be done.
The point is
the problem of every TV channel.
The point is a little different. The Broadcast Services Regulation Bill in draft form is an opportunity to create new legislation to remove clauses that are now deemed to be unnecessary, that perhaps were wrong, and to put in better clauses. It's in that light that I'm saying to you,
I think you are very constructive.
Should you be giving such powers to a junior official?
I can tell you in the end of the day, when the bill will be finalized, 3 things I can promise to you. One, there should not be no interference into the current affairs and news editing desk of any channel.
That's a promise?
Number 1.
That's a promise?
Yes, decisive. Number 2, in the program content, will be excluded from the editorial comments. Program content is the films, the theatres, the songs, the language that you use. If something is there which are sensitive in nature to create a problem to any zone, to other zone of India, their government can advise through advise, not mandate.
Okay, number 3.
And number 3 is decisive. Any matters of the mechanism to regulate should not be left to the government. Issue left to authority, similar to the status of press council, where government will not dictate.
An independent authority where the government cannot dictate. And in that spirit, let me come back to clause 24, because it worries a lot of people. Do you see why they are worried? They say that when junior officials like subdivisional magistrates have powers on interpretation to seize equipment, those powers can be easily misused. They say to you, remove it from such junior officials.
You will appreciate, Karan, only cable wallas remain under the judicial subdivisional magistrate, not the proper national TV channels. Where is the subdivisional magistrate in Delhi? Where is the subdivisional magistrate in Mumbai? It is in the city of various parts of India.
I'm afraid
where the cable network carry a content.
The provincial civil service has a rank of an SDM. Those officers do exist in Delhi, they do exist in Bombay. They do have that power. What worries people is
I think you believe in the power of the court, not a broadcasting regulating mechanism. I give an example. Only 48 hours before, on the order of the court, what happened in Bombay, you know?
Come back to my point.
No, you just
I'm aware of what happened in Bombay, but come back to my point. Because we're making good progress. You've given good assurances to the industry that there will be no forceful regulation, that there will be no censorship. Also now on this point, will you ensure that junior officials like STMs do not have powers to seize equipment? Give it to a higher level of officer. Why give it to an SDM? Do you know, a man becomes an SDM possibly at the age of 21. He's young, he's inexperienced, he has to now rely on his interpretation. The law says that if he has reason to believe, which is so vague that he can act on any notion, remove it.
I agree with you that this kind of apprehension is there, but I do not have less faith on the young officers of the country. So
you're determined to stand by this?
No, I don't use the word determined. I say in the remote corner of Indian village, if something happens by a private channel, at that time, do you expect the cabinet secretary to rush there in the spot?
No, but give the power to a more senior official.
You see,
give it to someone who's had at least 10 years of experience.
I can tell you, the piracy, the cassettes of piracy are to be seized and those equipments.
I'm not talking about piracy. I'm talking about interpretation based on the opinion of a 21-year-old.
I give you the interpretation. If a responsible government feels something is going wrong, basically to divide the society on communal line, on linguistic line, and deliberate purpose is being made.
I'm not talking about that. Let me come back to this.
You may not talk, but interpretation, I cannot go by your interpretation.
No, don't go by my interpretation. Go by clause 24. Clause 24 is not about communal trouble. It's not about communal incitement. It's about giving a junior official the power to decide whether section 5 is being contravened. What is section 5? Section 5 is to do with material that is prejudicial to relations with a foreign country. Therefore, if a junior SDM believes that a channel is showing a documentary on American atrocities in Iraq, which he, in his personal opinion, decides is prejudicial to India's relationship with America, he can walk into the channel office. I think that is exactly what it is.
I think that is your interpretation.
It's not my interpretation. It is the interpretation inherent.
I just explain you very simple. You see, international relations, one of the major part of country's own policy and independent foreign policy. It is not meant in the draft where the draft was made. I also put the similar questions in my in-house interaction with my officers, that if any attempt is made to destabilize any nation, and if a media correspondent go from India with his camera and uplink that incident, what is wrong for that to show? Nothing wrong. It is open. Now whole world is watching every developments. I was advised at that point, no sir, it is not in that way. It is in this way, that to incite a violent relation between the two nations in a manner.
I'm afraid,
I'm
interrupting you for
where
one
my own Indian residents are there.
Minister, I'm interrupting you for one reason. What you said just now in explanation is not in clause 24.
That is why clause 24 is on debate.
So there's a good possibility that clause 24 will either be amended, maybe even removed.
I can also tell you.
You're accepting that?
Are you accepting that? I said, tell you, don't cross-examine me like this. I like to tell you instantly. Clause 24, clause 5 are on debate, either to give alternate draft or to amend or to delete.
All right, that's reassuring. You've given me two guarantees that I believe will hugely reassure the television industry.
Absolutely.
Firstly, that you have no intention to censor. Secondly, that clause 24... And you reiterate it. Secondly, that clause 24 and clause 5 are on debate and could be amended.
Absolutely.
Major concerns have been taken care of. Let's take a break. I want to come back and talk about two other issues that worry the television industry. The issue of rights, and secondly, the issue of what degree of content needs to be determined by what you call socially relevant programming. We'll be back in a moment's time. Don't go away. Welcome back to Devil's Advocate and an exclusive interview with the Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Priya Ranjan Dasmunsi. Mr. Dasmunsi, let's turn to clause 11 of the bill, which requires that channels must show at least a minimum of 10% of their total program time devoted to what you call socially relevant programming. Now, what's the justification for this? No similar requirement is made of newspapers. Why should it be made of television channels?
No, I think newspapers also do cater great service.
But there's no mandated requirement.
No,
Here is a 10% mandate.
I can only give you clear assurance from my side. There will be no mandate. I am absolutely convinced every TV channel, whenever nation requires to support any kind of campaign for the country's interest, the TV channels do cooperate.
Absolutely. So when you say there'll be no... Can I interrupt, sir?
I give you clear
You said something very important.
There will be no mandate.
When you say there will be no mandate, are you therefore saying that this 10% will be removed?
No, even I am not talking 10%. Even some channels are so good that they come out more than we expect to campaign and propagate certain things which are essential for the country.
All right.
And I believe in that faith. It's a mutual persuasion that will help us without a mandate.
So once again you've said that the specific reference to a requirement of a minimum of 10% socially relevant programming, that specific reference will go. Instead there'll be a broad direction to be socially relevant, but not a 10% mandate.
I think I shall leave it to the channel owners.
You will leave it to channel owners and their good judgment.
With the appealing clause.
Let me then bring up another instance. Clause 6 says that if a channel acquires hot property, international or national, live sports broadcast rights, and the government deems them to be nationally important, then they can only be shown if they are shared with Doordarshan. I put it to you that what you are doing is to deny channels the right to expand their viewership on the strength of international sporting rights which they acquire. Why are you doing that?
I think, Karan, this is, I am also a sports person, and I do strongly feel that each sports person and each federation desire to protect their own right on their own earnings, on their own revenue, equal the channel. It's a very interesting issue.
So then why force channels to share it with Doordarshan?
At the same time, it is the terrestrial network people who watch, the poor people, the villages, the people who cannot afford to have the set-top box and all these things, they do feel it is the social responsibility of the government to ensure and negotiate.
Let's grant that.
To see the important games to the people.
Let me grant that. Many might question it, but let me grant it. If you believe that it is in the bigger, greater national interest that the whole country should see certain types of sports programs, then why are you insisting that those rights for broadcast should be granted without advertisements? Why should Doordarshan make money out of rights that it doesn't possess, which it didn't even bid for?
I fully agree with you.
You agree with me?
I said so.
So that's another clause that could be amended.
Let them show the game through our channel, but we should not impose any penalty on them that you have to allow us to raise the advertisement. Well, that is a very correct proposition to say.
But clause 6 specifically says, but clause 6 at the moment in your draft bill specifically says that the rights have to be given without advertisement. That you're now saying will be amended.
I said, my view is this, I do not know at the end of the debate what will happen. My view is this, they should carry the prime important national events to show, if they have the right, through Doordarshan also, but Doordarshan will negotiate to them not to encroach on their advertisement.
So in other words, there will be no clause which says without advertisements. That element of clause 6 will be removed. That's what you're saying.
It is still my view.
That is your view. All right. Finally, clause 7 of your bill says that every single cable operator in India has to carry the Lok Sabha channel, the Rajya Sabha channel, 2 terrestrial Doordarshan channels and 1 regional channel, making a total of 5, and they all have to be carried on the prime band. Now for most cable operators, the prime band only consists of somewhere between 10 and 12 channels. You're already taking up 50%.
This matter I'm still interacting with the cable network group, and till the end of the discussion I'll arrive at a decision. At this moment I cannot say it because...
But it could change?
We do feel there should be some flexibility of hours and time to them, not insisting that particularly this time you have to show it. We must understand what is their cushion.
I understand. Let me put something to you. Why should the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha channels be shown on prime band?
Why should only the dance and music should be shown?
I'll tell you why.
Why not the public work should be shown? Why not the public performance should be shown? The country is run by the democratic institution.
You have a public service broadcaster in Doordarshan. Show that on prime band.
Institution, how they scan the government, how they scan
Minister,
the government.
I can guarantee you that in their spare time, even your wife and children don't watch the Lok Sabha channel. Why are you forcing the country to watch it?
That could be your perception for 1 or 2 incidents. That should not be the perception of the people of India. It could help you to increase your appetite of the TRP. It doesn't help the nation's growth.
So you're determined that what MPs do on television, on the Lok Sabha, in the Rajya Sabha, has to be shown.
I feel sometimes your media people do much more than what you see in the parliament. They speak something rubbish one day and they cannot contradict. They swallow and apologize to the government and touch the knees of the
Minister.
I can very example. I don't want to hurt them. I know them. I know channels who come in the night to touch the knees, and in the morning they talk big things. So please understand, this behavior is not only in parliament but in channel also. The sense will prevail. Both will rest in themselves.
It's very interesting, Minister. We made great progress. You showed tremendous flexibility on all the clauses that we've discussed until we came to the question of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha channel. At the end of the day, you're determined that the country has to see the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha channels at the cost of what the country wants to see.
I am not compelling the nation to watch it. It is of the
Your
nation.
bill compels it to be on prime band.
I say that I am interacting with the cable network.
On that also.
Yes.
So the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha channels may not be on prime band.
Though it is our desire that they should show, but even they say they desire to talk to me, until my interaction is not over, I will not make the final comment.
It seems that we've got one more important concession from you. To many people hearing this interview, you've given a lot of assurance of flexibility, of open-mindedness, and much of the severity that people fear may not remain in the final version.
Flexibility must be the norm of every democratic system.
I'm very grateful to you. Many thanks for talking to Devil's Advocate.